In the headlines, bandits shoot DPO, one other police officer dead in Zamfara town. ISWAP kills 200 Boko Haram terrorist families in Borno. INEC assures of Beaver's deployment for governorship and assembly polls. Lastly, on the foreign scene, 2 Red Cross workers kidnapped in Mali. Hello and welcome to Trust TV News Updates. I am Martia Umar. Thank you for joining. Now the news in detail. Armed bandits on Sunday shot dead divisional police officer, a police sergeant and a vigilante in an attack on Maru local government town and the headquarters of Maru local government area of Zamfara state. A resident of the town who craved for anonymity has reliably told Daily Trust that the armed criminals had invaded the town to kidnap a business. The armed man had earlier abducted his brother and was freed after ransom was paid. They came again to kidnap him but had managed to escape. Unfortunately, they took his wife. The DPO mobilized his men to foil the attempt by the criminals to kidnap the businessman but lost his life in a gunfight. The spokesman of the State Police Command, SP Muhammad Shehu, could not be reached for comment. The Islamic State of West African Province ISWAP terror group has killed over 200 Boko Haram terrorists and their families in deadly rivalry clash in the northeast of Gudumbali in Borno State. It was gathered that the ISWAP insurgent targeted hundreds of Boko Haram terrorists and their families of Choli village located in the northern part of the state while fleeing ISWAP attacks between February 26 and 27, 2023, which led to the killing of many Boko Haram women and children. A military source familiar with the development reports that the sustained attack had led to the dislodgement of hundreds of the fighters. The sources said that Boko Haram terrorists who scampered to safety ran towards the Mandara Mountains and the water axis to seek refuge. In contrast, others fled towards Gonduga, Mafa, Dekwa, Gajaram and the Lake Chad stores. And now to Katsina State, where residents decry rampant cases of military brutality leading to killing and hospitalization of many innocent people. Residents of Funtua had recently alleged the killing of one Muhammad Meirwa, a commercial driver, by some soldiers based in Funtua. Abdullahi Yamadi reports that families and residents demand immediate release of 2 other persons being held by the military. His report.
It was reported that the problem started when Muhammad, a commercial driver, went to Abdul Salam filling station Ungwar Dahiru in Funtua town to buy fuel. After dispensing the fuel, the commercial driver discovered that he was shortchanged in the process of withdrawing money from his bank account through the filling station's POS machine. This led to an argument between Abdul Salam filling station's manager and his regular customer, Muhammad. But later, the frustrated driver left disappointed. However, the manager reported the matter to some soldiers manning a military checkpoint on Gusau Road in Funtua town, few meters away from Abdul Salam filling station. The soldiers were alleged to have bundled the driver and beat him to death. My father and our breadwinner were killed. I passionately appeal to all relevant authorities and human rights groups to join us in ensuring justice to my father.
May the soul of my husband rest in perfect peace. Now my husband was innocently killed by soldiers. This is a gross injustice. This is one of the things leading people to anarchy. I demand justice for my husband, Muhammad. No more, no less.
In a similar vein, military personnel in Mufti driving in a tinted glass vehicle who was denied entry into Hassan Usman Katsina Polytechnic, harassed and beat a watchman to a point of coma.
There was also another one at the gate of Umar Musa University here in Katsina. The security man informed me that there is a law that nobody with a tinted vehicle should be allowed into the premises of the Polytechnic. But that particular person immediately refused, and he summoned his own colleagues who came in army uniform. And they beat that particular security man. In fact, he was seriously wounded. We had to take him to hospital immediately, and he was there, I think, for about 2 days. So this is an unbecoming, unethical action by any security personnel. As institutions, we have our rules, we have our regulations. Just like the army or the military also do have their own rules and regulations. We don't allow anybody into our campuses with any tinted vehicle for security reasons.
When contacted, the 17th Brigade in Katsina said they are not authorized to speak to the press, but instead referred Trust TV to Public Relations Department of the Defense Headquarters in Abuja. Abdullahi Ismayamadi, Trust Television News, Katsina.
And on to election matters. The chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Mahmoud Yakubu, has assured Nigerians that the bimodal voter accreditation system, BVAS, will be used in the forthcoming governorship and state legislature elections. Yakubu gave the assurance on Saturday in a meeting with all state resident electoral commissioners at the INEC headquarters in Abuja. According to him, the BVAS machine will be used for the elections, adding that the devices are being reviewed to avoid a repeat of the glitches recorded with last Saturday's elections. The INEC chairman noted that the meeting was to review performances at the last week's election, adding that there were lessons to be learned from last week's election, especially as it relates to logistics management.
Last week's national elections raised a number of issues that require immediate, medium, and long-term solutions. The planning for the election was painstakingly done. However, its implementation came with challenges. As we approach the governorship and state assembly elections, we must work harder to overcome the challenges experienced in the last election. Nothing else will be acceptable to Nigerians. All staff found to be negligent, whether they are regular or ad hoc officials, including collation and returning officers, must not be involved in the forthcoming election. RECs must also immediately initiate disciplinary action where prima facie evidence of wrongdoing has been established against any staff involved in the election. The bimodal voter accreditation system, the BVAS, will once again be deployed for voter accreditation and result management. The deployment of BVAS has gone a long way to sanitize voter accreditation, as can be seen from the results of recent elections. Since last week, the Commission has intensified the review of the technology to ensure that glitches experienced, particularly with the upload of results, are rectified. We are confident that going forward, the system will run optimally.
The Sultan of Sokoto, Alhaji Saad Abubakar III, has called on Nigerians to accept the recent election results and leaders elected. The Sultan made the call in a speech delivered at Aminu Kano Triangle in Dutse, the Jigawa state capital, on Saturday during the coronation and presentation of the staff of office ceremony of the new Emir of Dutse. Alhaji Saad Abubakar III said leadership is from Almighty, given to whoever he wishes, at any time he wishes, and nobody can query him or change what he did. The Chairman, National Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, appealed to leaders to be just and fair to their followers. He then called on the politicians to encourage peace and stability always. Nasarawa State Governor Abdullahi Sule has cautioned the people in the state against the use of religion and ethnicity to cause crisis in the state. The governor gave the warning during a meeting with religious leaders following different videos trending on social media, calling on residents of Nasarawa State to vote based on religion during the next gubernatorial election. Abubakar Abdullahi sent in this report as presented from our studio.
Addressing the religious leaders on the provocative trending video, Governor Abdullahi Sule described the trend as dangerous to the growth of democracy, adding that it is a threat to the unity of the state if allowed to continue. He therefore appealed to the people of the state to avoid utterances capable of causing religious conflict in the state. He called on religious clerics to caution their followers against engaging in acts inimical to the teachings of their faith.
On the various religions, I'm not apportioning any blame to anyone. I don't even know who started, but from what you are seeing, it is going wild. Because now we are having people from far outside the state who feel they should participate in the debate of Nasarawa State. And that is because we allow ourselves. According to Abraham Lincoln, in his speech, where he mentioned a house divided against itself cannot stand. So we have to be very careful not to allow religion to be the reason that will divide us so badly.
Speaking to journalists shortly after the meeting, State Chairman of Christian Association of Nigeria, Sunday Ima, and Secretary General of Jama'at Nasr al-Islam, Muhammad Ali, expressed happiness with the meeting. They said the measures taken by the governor would give confidence to the followers to come out and cast their votes during the March 11th gubernatorial election in the state without fear of intimidation.
And from the angle of CAN, we are so happy with the call because a lot of our members are worried as to what will happen on the 11th of March, whether they will come for election or not, because of the threat, the intimidation, and all the provocative statements. But with this meeting, we call on every Christian, not just Christian, every well-meaning Nigerian, especially in Nasarawa State, to come out and vote. There's every assurance that there is security, and also that anyone who wants to obstruct the peace when enjoying this state will not be allowed to do so.
One good thing with Nasarawa State, we have never fight any religious fighting in the state. And inshallah, this time around will not come as a religious fighting. So Excellency emphasized more on the peace, and let us have a peace. And some of these provocative videos and hate speeches, which he said we should let our followers to desist from such videos or hate speeches. We just want to have a peaceful election, just like we had during the presidential election.
The leaders of the two major religions promised to extend the message to their followers across different parts of the state.
The International Monetary Fund has urged the Central Bank of Nigeria and other monetary authorities to de-emphasize monetary policy as a way of tackling the resurgence of inflation. In a new report titled Rethinking Monetary Policy in a Changing World, the Washington-based lender said the ability of central banks to set monetary policy and control the economy in more fraught times hinges on its independence. According to the report, the low interest rates and less extreme public debt levels that prevailed after the global crisis of 2008 permitted central banks to ignore what were then relatively inconsequential interactions between monetary and fiscal policy. The National Agency for Food and Drugs Administration and Control, NAFDAC, has pledged with journalists in the country to play a vital role in the drive to eradicate the menace of bleaching creams. The Director General of the agency, Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, made the call at a one-day media sensitization workshop on dangers of bleaching creams and regulatory controls organized for the Association of Nigerian Health Journalists in Southwest, held at the House of Chiefs Secretariat, Ibadan, Oyo State. The DG said the workshop was aimed at educating people on the dangers of bleaching cream, safeguarding the health of the people, and ensuring that consumers are well educated. The DG explained that the agency has regulated actions to stem the tide of rampant and pervasive cases in Nigerians using bleaching creams. She cautioned Nigerians to be wary of what they use and the bleaching of their skins, adding that the continuous use of the chemicals would lead to dangerous health conditions. You're watching Trust TV News Update. Still to come. We'll take a look at the story of Northern Nigeria's native flute. The details of this story and more after the break. Do stay with us.
Now, as part of efforts to support Africa's goal of strengthening...
Now, looking at the activity chart, as you can see right here, a total volume of 130...
Created a Boko Haram crisis that at that time was restricted to Yobe.
How secure are they? You can see security men with blood.
This is the road leading up to the...
Already, if you look at England squad, you are looking at EPL, you are looking at their names. You are not looking at...
Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is the news update on Trust TV. But a recap of our top stories. We told you earlier that bandits shoot a DPO and one other police officer dead in Zamfara town. And ISWAP kills 200 Boko Haram terrorists and families in Borno. Moving on to other stories, despite the Supreme Court's extension of the validity of old 200 Naira, 500 and 1,000 Naira notes till the 31st of December 2023, Nigerians have continued to experience difficulty in accessing cash. Checks by Trust TV refused that since the Apex Court's judgment, ATMs are not dispensing both the old and new Naira notes. A POS operator told Trust TV how the policy implementation has greatly affected his business. Nigerians are calling on the federal government through the Central Bank of Nigeria to come clear on where it stands vis-a-vis the Supreme Court declaration to enable them know their next line of action.
The Supreme Court asked us to go back to spending the old Naira notes. We've been having so many challenges getting across to the new Naira notes. I've gone to the ATM this morning. I didn't see anything. I didn't see the old Naira notes, not even the new Naira notes. So it's getting frustrating. Businesses are not collecting this note from them because they say they want to hear the president say it himself that we should start collecting it. That until he says it, that is when they will start collecting it. Because the previous time, the Supreme Court said this thing, the government said another thing.
The ATM was locked, so I'm unable to receive any money from the ATM. So now I'm going home. I'm going home from my office now. I don't have 5 Naira in my pocket now. That's why I came here. Whether I'm going to get at least 500 Naira for me to get back home. No money. I don't have any money. I have money in my account. I cannot collect. So I don't know what's going on.
Okay, like yesterday, now that was when they said we should be using the tablet, right? But now, like we're going to work now. Coming to work, throughout the whole ATM, no one is paying. Nobody's paying. So now we're going back home now. No one is still paying. So we don't know what's...
Actually, we are just there since more people have been coming since morning. but we're unable to give people money because there is no cash. So anyone that is going, except maybe they want to come and do withdraw and send. Sure, you understand? That's the only thing we are doing for now. So about the cash, no cash. They can only come for withdraw. Maybe they want to withdraw and send to someone. That's the only thing we'll be doing since morning.
I don't think there's any different because this morning as I was coming in, I tried to go into the bank to check if I can get money, but the security there told me that there's no money. Even with the old notes, most people still collect and most people still don't collect. So it's even getting worse. As you are seeing us now, we are trekking from Akme down to Bebe Gadia because there is no cash.
Alligator, known as flute in English, is one of the musical instruments used in northern Nigeria for centuries. The instrument is still part of the region's everyday life as blowers regularly feature in events like Durbar and in emirs' palaces across the north. Trust TV's Bello Musa spoke with one of the alligator blowers at the palace of the district head in Kakuri, Kaduna, who is still earning a living from blowing alligator. The report.
Alligator is an old musical instrument in northern Nigeria developed around 14th century. Blowers of alligator are mostly found at Emir's Palace and traditional institutions in Hausa and Kanuri land. One can play alligator continuously by breathing in through the nose and letting out the air by breathing out. Shehu Alligator has been blowing alligator, the instrument, for about 46 years. He inherited it from his father and grandfather. This is called alligator, and I inherited it from my father, who in turn inherited it from my grandfather. I have been blowing alligator for about 46 years. According to Shehu, alligator is used to communicate with emirs and their subjects in olden days. We use alligator to communicate with the emirs when they are at the palace, at traditional events, and also when going for war in olden days. Shehu wants government to revive and promote the use of traditional musical instruments like alligator in order to create jobs for talented youths. Bello Musa, Trust TV News, Kaduna.
President Muhammadu Buhari arrived in Doha on Saturday night to attend the 5th United Nations Conference on the Least Developed Countries. His participation at the summit precedes an official visit at the invitation of the Emir of Qatar, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani. Kehinde Amodu, who is on the entourage of the president in Doha, now reports.
The United Nations Conference on the Least Developed Countries holds once in a decade and provides an opportunity to garner the support of the international community for accelerating sustainable development in least developed countries, as well as assist them to make progress towards achieving prosperity. Nigeria is not one of the 36 nations listed as least developed countries, but is committed to supporting the most vulnerable countries to meet their development challenges because a large number of them are in Africa.
70% of this number is in Africa, and all of the problems of the world are around these few countries. They have about 14% of the global population, but put together all of their GDP is less than 1.3% of the global GDP. In terms of export of manufactured goods, they control less than 1%. So they are bedevilled by so many things: debt crisis, problems of borrowing, hunger, insecurity, compounded by climate change, and all of the things that have been generated by global recession and the coronavirus epidemic. So this meeting, perhaps more than even the General Assembly of the United Nations, it is to bring everyone together, the least developed and those that are developed, to talk about the problems of these countries that need to be supported, need to be pulled up.
As most of these countries struggle to find sustainable solutions to challenges of poverty, adverse effects of climate change, food and energy crisis, as well as high debt burden, the question to ask is what is different about this conference?
This is focusing essentially on what to do in order to solve problems. Other meetings may be happening, talk shops and all of that, but the thing is that you expect that there will be an action plan that will be generated from Doha, as was the case when they last met 5 years back in Istanbul. So we expect an action plan, arising from this.
The summit will be attended by world leaders, the private sector, civil society and youth organizations. After the summit, President Buhari is expected to engage one-on-one with the Emir of Keita to work out partnership between both countries on Nigeria's own peculiar challenges. On the president's entourage to Doha, Kehinde Amudu, Trust TV News.
And now away from Nigeria, 2 workers with the International Committee of the Red Cross were kidnapped on Saturday in Mali. In a Twitter post, the organization's Mali branch said that 2 of its colleagues were kidnapped between Gao and Kidal. The organization said with concern that the agency has been present in Mali for 32 years and is a neutral, independent and impartial organization. Since 2012, Mali has been in the grip of a serious security crisis where violence, including kidnapping of foreigners and Malians, is common, and motives ranging from ransom demands to acts of reprisal. And finally, in sports, the second batch of the national under-18 male handball team will on Sunday leave for the International Handball Federation Trophy Intercontinental Championship after the first batch traveled on Saturday for San Jose, Costa Rica. The championship holds from 6th March to the March 11th, where Nigeria, currently African champions, will be featuring in the 6 days championship of IHF junior competition for the second time in the history of the championship. A team will play its first match on March 8 against Nicaragua and also meet Georgia, Guadeloupe, Nicaragua and Tahiti in a round-robin competition. And that brings us to the end of the news update at this hour. For more, you can follow us across all our social media platforms. My name is Martia Umar. Thank you for watching and stay tuned.